The World Cup is finally over, all right? And that means the next sporting event that we get to focus on, besides NFL preseason, is the glorious college football, okay? The thing that we're all here for. Um, Today I have 6 teams that I think can actually win the national title. Now it's July. Fall camp hasn't even started. Okay, there are a lot of variables that could still happen between now and the first game of the year. But here are the 6 teams that I'm looking at. And then I have 3 honorable mentions on this list. So we'll just knock them out. And the honorable mentions I'll rank in order. But the 6 teams, no particular order. I view all of them really on the same playing field. I do think expectations are different for 2 of them, but we'll get there. So the 3 honorable mentions. First off is Indiana, so that would be my ninth ranked team. And defending champions, obviously you have expectations going into the season. That whole coaching staff, like we know what they are now. They're not going to catch anyone by surprise. And I think there's a lot of talent on that team, specifically in the wide receiver room. They have some beasts at linebacker. I would say their high school talent coming in, like they got better, but they lose a lot of seniority going out. And to me, like offensive line is something that I'm really looking at for that roster to see the growth and see if they can sustain the level of excellence that they had last year. Because I feel like that is the point. That and also Josh Hoover. Like, what's Josh Hoover look like in Kurt Cignetti's system? So I'm really curious. I mean, I don't have their schedule in front of me right now, but I'm still expecting them to have double-digit wins and be a playoff team. And at that point, anybody has a chance, right? So that's my first honorable mention. And then I would say Ole Miss is my next one. And mainly because now I realize like LSU took a lot of kids from that roster. I mean, Ole Miss still brought in a really good class, and they still brought in some really good transfers as well. But Trinidad Chambliss coming back, I think, is the biggest influential difference point for me. Like, him coming back, I mean, I think he's the oldest starting quarterback in college football. I mean, maybe there's some, like, D2 dude out there or something. I'm not 100% sure. But Trinidad Chambliss is, like, somebody who I would consider to have the most experience out of anybody. Like, I'm okay if we're talking about just college quarterbacks and we're not talking about NFL potential and we're not talking about like NFL traits or anything. Just cut pro out of this whole conversation. I'm okay with standing on a hill that says Trinidad Chambliss is one of, if not the best returning college quarterbacks in the country. So at that point, if you have that kind of player on your roster running your offense, like, yeah, you're on the list of teams that could legitimately win it. Now, I haven't looked at their schedule, but just that alone, to me, if he stays healthy for the whole year, like, they're gonna be a scary team to play for sure. And then give me Texas A&M, and in that same vein, I think that crew gets another year to run it back. I know last year's like Miami loss, just how that whole thing went. Even having home field, like I know that season didn't settle well for them, and I think Marcel Reed's going to get a lot better, and I mean a lot better. So yeah, A&M is my number 7. Now let's get into the 6 that I think can actually win the national title. Like the ones that I would pick, like at the very top of my bracket, at the very top of my rankings. Okay, starting with Georgia. All right. And again, these are in no particular order. We'll talk about the 2 that I think have the most expectations, and I think they should be at the top of the bracket. But again, starting with Georgia. So Gunnar Stockton's going to get a lot better. And I think any Kirby Smart team, and the last decade has kind of proven this to us, every single Kirby Smart team is going to have an elite defense, like at least top 15. And they always just have freaks on the defensive line or linebackers. I mean, no particular roster construction really is what I'm looking at. I just think, again, similar theme with the rest of this list. It's like quarterback growth. Stockton is going, I believe this is it his second year starting or his third year starting? It seems like he's been there for a while. I think it's his second year as a starter. Um, yeah, because 2 years ago he came in the playoffs and yeah, okay. Um, so yeah, no, I think Georgia just takes that next step, and I do think Georgia has a relatively decent schedule. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think Georgia's a shoe-in playoff team, and it's Kirby Smart, so it's arguably the best coach in college football right now. Um, so yeah, give me Georgia. And then number 5 is going to be Notre Dame. Okay, I think this roster, there's two things at play for Notre Dame. CJ Carr is going to get a hell of a lot better. And there's a recurring theme here with these quarterbacks getting a hell of a lot better. Um, but CJ Carr in year 2, okay, you are loaded in the defensive back room. Like, absolutely loaded. All right? Like, that whole defense in general is loaded. I think they're going to play more like they did 2 years ago when they were in the national title, because they actually have the player personnel to do so. I think their schedule is relatively, like, if I'm looking at Notre Dame's schedule, I mean, especially now that they kind of get in if they're in the top 12, like that's the agreement. I forgot what it's called. So somebody in the comments, please put that in there. But there is an official like rule that says Notre Dame, if they're a top 12 team, is now in the playoffs. That's kind of just like set in stone. They're going to be in the top 12. I think they're, if I was betting, I would throw a shit ton of money on Notre Dame being a playoff team, because short of injuries, like, they're not going to lose enough games to not be a playoff team. Just looking at who they play. Really, like, the Miami game is the only game on the schedule that I'd sit there and be like, ooh, that one, right, that one's a toughie. So, yeah, Notre Dame for me. That defense, man. That defense, and then CJ Carr really being able to rip the football and just, like, push on offense, I think is going to be huge for them. I really, like, last year with who they had at running back, both of those guys, like, they were more of a running team, it felt like. But this year, I think you're going to see the dynamic switch a little bit. I think they're actually going to air it out quite a bit. So I would be surprised if Notre Dame wasn't putting up like 30 plus, 35 plus a game, especially who they're going to have backups in the game on most of these second halves. I feel confident saying that, just knowing who they're playing. Anyway, that's Notre Dame. Number 4, Ohio State. To be honest with you, I don't see a list out there. Like, if you told me Ohio State was the number 1 team in the country, I would just be like, cool. Yeah, sure. I don't think at this point with who's on their team, that offense is loaded, man. Like, absolutely loaded top to bottom. And I realize their defense is going to take a step back because of the sheer amount of first-round talent that just walked out the door and went to the NFL. I don't know. Ohio State's Ohio State. They're going to continue to be Ohio State. 10 plus wins, probably 11 wins, maybe even 12. Like, I would not be shocked if they went 12-0. Not one bit. So Ohio State's always going to be on the list. And then for me, it's Miami next. And again, no particular order. So I really do view Miami, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Georgia, like, all in that same bucket for me. But Miami, yeah, switch at quarterback, right? But Darian Mensah's legit, dude. Like, when I tell you that this kid, he's legit, okay? Like, if you haven't seen the Duke film, go watch the Duke film, because they are not going to take a single step back. I really don't believe so. And they got the kid from Missouri, from Georgia, actually, originally, Damon Wilson. He transferred in, so like, I realized that they lost their 2 big edge rush guys to the league, but you get Damon Wilson, and then they still have that Lightfoot kid, Marquise Lightfoot. I can't remember. I just know, I'm pretty sure he's from Chicago. 5-star edge, right? Super freaky, twitchy dude. I think he might have even had a sack or 2 in the natty. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look, but. And then offensive line, in a Mario Cristobal team, like, offensive line is going to be loaded. So we're not worried about offensive line. And then Mark Fletcher's coming back. So it's really the same team, with a lot more experience. And then Darian Mensah, which I think just adds a completely different dynamic to the offense. Not that Carson Beck wasn't elite, because he was an elite decision maker, but I think Darian Mensah, like, they're going to be able to push the ball down the field a little further, and Darian Mensah has legit legs, bro. I mean, so does Carson Beck, like, with all due respect, but it's different. Like, Darian Mensah is a athlete where you have to legitimately plan for him to move a little bit. Like, Carson Beck's not going to move until he absolutely has to or knows that he needs to win the game, right? Which is why they were so effective in the playoffs. But Darian Mensah just adds a completely different dynamic to that offense. And he's got a rifle for an arm, dude. Like, incredible. So they're 100% on the list. And then to me, the two at the top of the list, the reason I left them as 2 and 1 is really because of the expectations for both of them for the season. I just think it makes the most sense to lump them together. So the top 2 teams for me are going to be Texas and Oregon. They're both pretty much in a scenario where, like, I think Sark is in year 6, and this is easily his best roster, like, top to bottom. I believe Texas has the best roster in the entire country, and I really don't think that you can convince me otherwise. I mean, just pull up Texas's roster and just go top to bottom, and you tell me how many guys that you don't recognize. Like, you don't even have to be a Texas fan. Just do it. Because I promise you, like, there's names on that list. I mean, they have NFL players just all the way down. So, easily the best roster that Sark's had since he's been there. And they brought in Will Muschamp from Georgia. Brought him in for the defense. And I really do feel like a roster like that, with Sark being able to actually comfortably call plays and, like, not have to think about the defensive side of the football, like, I'm a 100% like tried and true Arch Manning believer, like, fully bought in on the Kool-Aid. Okay, like, watching him early season last season really sucked for me, because I was telling people that this kid was like the next, Manning, right? Like, he was great. I was predicting, like, oh, he's gonna be in it for the Heisman. Like, he's a true baller. And then just to see the mechanical breakdown, that was kind of tough. But I don't think that's going to be an issue this year. In fact, I'm fairly confident it's not going to be an issue, especially because they came out and said he had a surgery. So, really, I just think Texas is the best team in the country, just being 100% honest. And I will wait until week 2 when they play Ohio State to adjust my expectations for Texas. But right now, for me, like, that's the best team in the country. And then Oregon just, like, you just brought everybody back. I mean, if you're Oregon, like, it doesn't get better than this. I mean, if you look at Oregon's roster, again, same scenario. Like, Dan Lanning's been here. This is year 5. Easily the best. Like, this is the year, as an Oregon fan, this is the year you have been waiting for, where your team is loaded with a bunch of dudes with a bunch of starts and a bunch of experience, and you have the best weapons you've ever had. I think there's a legitimate case to be made here that says Oregon has the best wide receiver room in the country. You could even say skill position room in the country. Like, you could throw those running backs in there, and I'm okay with that argument. I do think their running back room is extremely young, but it does not void talent at all. So yeah, that's why I'm saying, like, I think Texas and Oregon are, like, neck and neck here, because really looking at Oregon, like, the only thing that would concern me would be offensive line. It's like, how are they gonna, because there's at least 3 new starters. I believe it is 3 new starters. How are they gonna gel, and what is that gonna look like? Because to me, that's the determining factor in Oregon's success. And it's not experience, it's not big game ability. It just seems like every single year since Dan Lanning took over, they've taken the next step every single time. And this is easily the oldest roster that he's had and the best roster, like, top to bottom, talent, loaded. Like, I mean, they have a ton of first rounders on this team, or projected first and second rounders. So, and they just, the way that they reloaded that roster is incredible. So Yeah, I'm sitting here looking at teams that could win a natty. It's like you're almost looking at teams that you think that you could envision going 12-0. It's kind of that same vibe, right? Like obviously the regular season's a little bit different, especially now that we have a playoff that you have to plan for. Um, so obviously teams are going to play a little bit differently in the regular season. But really, if you told me like these six teams, any of these six teams went 12-0, I wouldn't bat an eye, right? Oregon, Texas, Miami, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Georgia. Any of those six teams go 12-0, not going to question it, right? It's not out of the expected like outcomes. So for me, those are the easy picks for the top of your playoff bracket, national title contenders, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I'm going to do individual breakdowns for a few of these teams here, just season previews, fall camp previews, and we'll actually go more in depth into like which roster pieces are coming onto campus and getting ready for the season. But yeah, just starting it off. I mean, looking at it right now, those are the teams I think could actually win. And then obviously the teams that I think should be at the top of the bracket, whether they, you know, can win or honorable mention or whatever. I just think that these nine really would make my top 9 out of 12 like today if we were picking a bracket. So yeah, we'll see you in the next one.